Hey, how you feeling about being here today, Lindsey?
I'm really nervous. I feel like I'm about to take a test I haven't studied for.
Well, welcome to the Some of the Above Education News Comedy Quiz podcast. We're the show that asks lots of important questions about the education news of the day and answers only some of them. I'm education policy guy Paul Richmond, and here's my co-host, a man who Katie Couric once featured on the CBS Evening News and said, "I love that guy." It's Alex Kajitani.
Hey, thanks so much, Paul, and welcome to our listeners. This is the show where, along with our special guest contestants, we inform, inspire, and help you make it through the latest education news with a few more LOLs and a lot less sad face emojis.
Yeah, Alex, and although you know how much I just love getting into the minutiae and details of education policy and the data,
I do.
I promise not to let that stand in the way of going for an easy laugh or poking fun at people who deserve it.
Sounds good to me and agreed. I promise, of course, not to pull rank about educational practices by starting every third sentence with, well, you know, as someone who actually taught in the classroom.
I appreciate that. And now let's meet our two special guest contestants. This month, we welcome two celebrated educators. In fact, both of our guests have the distinction of being Teachers of the Year, just like you, Alex.
That's right. We've got both coasts and the middle of the country represented. First off, it's Dr. Lindsey Jensen. She's the 2018 Illinois Teacher of the Year and currently works as the Early Career Development and Student Director for the Illinois Education Association. She's also an incredibly talented singer and musician. Hello, Lindsey.
Hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm nervous.
Well, not to worry. We've got you covered. Next, it's Dr. Dorina Sackman-Ebuwa, affectionately known by her students as Miss Dorito. She's the 2014 Florida Teacher of the Year, an award-winning multilingual learner educator, and as a speaker, she has often been described as a Tasmanian devil on a double espresso by audience members. So welcome, Dorina.
Thank you, Alex, Paul, Lindsey. How's everybody doing? I am so excited to be here. A little nervous, like Lindsey said. So I got my messy bun, so let's have some fun. And I got my double chin. Let's dive right in, guys. Let's do this.
I love it. It is so great to meet both of you. And wow, I mean, all three of you are Teachers of the Year, which is a tremendous tribute to your commitment as educators. And it's a pretty exclusive club too, right? I mean, so right off the bat, I want to ask, are there any secret Teacher of the Year rituals you can tell our listeners about?
Well, I don't know that we are allowed to speak of the haze. No, I'm kidding. There's no hazing that happens. More than anything, we are just a part of an incredible network of teachers across the country who are committed to students, committed to doing not just what's good for kids, but what's best for kids. And we rely on each other a lot, especially during these very unique, nuanced times.
So true, Lindsey. And that's exactly what it is. I have a Jeep, right? And there's a culture with having a Jeep. And anybody with a Jeep knows that there's Jeep etiquette. The exact same thing happens with Teachers of the Year, State Teachers of the Year, the STOYs and NSTOYs, the National Network of State Teachers of the Year that we belong to. You can, no matter what, you call you have a flat tire. You don't need a Jeep. You just call somebody. I will drive to the Midwest to help Lindsey. But you understand what I'm saying. We will do whatever it takes to help each other because this is a family, a true family. That's the secret. It's like this secret club, but we want to share it with everybody.
Absolutely.
I love it. I think I'm going to get rid of my AAA and just sign up for the Teacher of the Year package now, too.
I'll get the 1-800 number going.
So, hey, Alex, by the way, I couldn't help but notice that Lindsey and Dorina both have doctorate degrees. So, hey, how come you're the only Teacher of the Year on this show without a doctorate?
Yeah, fair enough. You know, I keep meaning to, Paul, but I'm a surfer, as you know, and the waves here in Southern California are so tasty that I just keep getting sidetracked. Maybe someday.
We don't have those distractions in the Midwest.
And the waves aren't good enough in Florida. I mean, Cocoa Beach, yeah, but I'm about 3.5 hours from the nearest beach. So come on now. Florida's a big place.
How funny. Well, speaking of surfing, Dorina and Lindsey, it's time for our first quiz game, something we call Surfing the Headlines.
Woo. Oh, boy.
By the way, all of our original music on this show is performed by our very own in-show band, Tommy Dunbar and the Number 2 Pencils. So thanks, Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to ask each of you a question about an education news story that made waves this month. A correct answer is worth 1 point, unless Paul and I arbitrarily decide it should be worth more. Because the way our show works is this. We keep track of the points, and at the end of the show, the contestant with the fewest points has to come back and join us again. So if you want to be done with us for good, you have to earn the most points. Otherwise, we invite you back.
So at least if we lose, there's an incentive, right? There's something good to look forward to.
No, I'm super stoked about it because I just want to hear Tommy Ticonderoga and the Number 2 Pencils.
Well, I do want to add, too, that, full disclosure, Alex and I tend to keep score the way the White House determines new tariffs, which is to say we make things up along the way.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
That's right. They might go up, they might go down. We'll see. All right. Let's start surfing the headlines. This first question is for you, Lindsey.
Oh, boy. Okay.
According to a new study by the Learning Policy Institute, more than 6 in 10 teachers said that they have done what?
Gone home and had a glass of wine at the end of a long day.
That is probably true, but I'll give you a little hint. Some teachers do it just once. Others maybe do it 2 or even 3 times. It's something they do to support their education.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm going to say take a mental health day.
Getting there. This involves their bank accounts.
Oh, it involves their bank accounts. It involves their bank accounts.
Maybe having to
pay for something in their classroom, maybe?
Getting there. Maybe they have to take automatic withdrawals from their bank accounts each month to pay for something big that they've invested in along the way.
Oh, student loans.
That is right. You got it. According to the study, more than 6 in 10 teachers have taken out student loans to support their education. Furthermore, close to 4 in 10 of those teachers are still repaying their loans, and 1 in 5 teachers work multiple jobs because of their student loan debt. So, thoughts on the loans, Lindsey? You work with a lot of new and aspiring teachers.
I really was getting there. I mean, this is why they have to drink, and this is why they have to take mental health days, right?
That's
but
right.
My job is to advocate so that hopefully someday they don't have to do all of those things, right? But yeah, I was close.
Absolutely. All right. Next news story. This one's for you, Dorina.
You got this, girl.
2 of the richest people in the world, Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg and his wife, physician Priscilla Chan, announced that their foundation is closing the nonprofit school they founded to serve students and families in a low-income Northern California neighborhood because, the couple claims, there's no longer enough what?
Money.
That's right. This power couple's combined net worth is estimated to be $200 billion, but apparently they say there's no longer enough money to keep the school open.
That's the excuse of everybody, isn't it? No more money, yet no more middle class.
And I was clapping because you got it right. And then I realized I was clapping and how depressing that is, right?
It's amazing what we'll clap for these days, isn't it?
Indeed it is. Indeed it is.
You know, what's interesting is Zuckerberg and Chan's nonprofit launched the primary school in East Palo Alto in 2016 to, quote, transform public education, end quote, and provides free education and health services to 450 students in this predominantly Latino community. And the students and their families, they took great pride in the school over the years, causing one fifth grade student to call the just announced closure, and I quote, a slap in the face.
Oh, wow, Chris Rock.
You know, interestingly, we did reach out to the Chan Zuckerberg Foundation for a response to this story, and we also got a slap in the face.
I think that's actually one of the new reactions on Facebook now that you can click on.
It's sad, but it's true, right? It's funny and we laugh, but my, how sad this is, right? Experimenting with our kids' educations. All right, moving on.
I like it. She's moving us on, Alex. All right. Well, our next game is one we call Education Data Points of the Month, or EDTPOTM, since in education, we love our acronyms. And as you well know, something else that those of us in and around education love are statistics and data. So we love to be data-driven, data-informed, and with Elon Musk running wild, even data-compromised.
Oh, yes. You know, hey, by the way, does anyone still know or care that the singular form of data is datum? Yes, I guarantee if you ever try to correct somebody on this, they'll just shake your head and look pitifully at you, kind of like the three of you are looking at me now. But moving on, Paul.
We have some English teachers here today, so they may have known that.
I think that was a math thing, actually, but it's okay.
Thing,
it's all right.
I can't lie. I'm a little nervous. I'm a qualitative gal. I like those narratives, those stories. Data tells a story, but not the whole story. And so if this is a quantitative question,
all right,
I'm going to have to get my math hat on. Here we go.
Right, well, we'll see how you do. So for this game, I'm going to tell you a number and then give you three choices. And you have to guess what that number actually represents in terms of an education data point or statistic. So first question is to you, Lindsey.
Okay.
And the statistic is $1 billion. Is this A, the amount of money, $1 billion, that teachers in New Jersey spent out of their own pockets last year on essential supplies and materials for their classrooms? Is it B, the amount of grant funding that the U.S. Department of Education recently canceled mid-grant for school districts to hire additional school counselors and mental health workers? Or C, is it the amount of money Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan decided not to spend to keep their primary school open?
Wow. I am going to go with choice B.
You are absolutely correct.
Woo-hoo!
Yes.
I mean, it feels wrong to be cheering for this.
Yes, it does.
I'm elated that I got the question right, and then also bewildered by this statistic.
Yes.
Oh, man.
In its zealousness to cut programs, the U.S. Department of Education stopped funding 2 grants aimed at increasing the number of mental health professionals who work in schools, saying that the approximately $1 billion in grant awards made under the previous administration now conflict with Trump administration priorities. And these funds were authorized by Congress in the 2022 bipartisan Safer Communities Act. This particular program is just one of the many educational programs and grants that the administration has moved to cancel, cut, withhold, claw back, postpone, defang, or choose your own verb.
This is where the qualitative part comes in, Lindsey. You get to choose your own verb.
I'm a little, I don't know if my language that I want to incorporate into this storytelling is appropriate for this podcast, but
it just blows my mind because they say it's actually, the fact that this entire thing talks about the fact that it violates federal civil rights laws simply because, and what all that comes down to, once again, is DEI. And what all that comes down to is just fear. The fear mongering and what DEI is. And it just is so frustrating. And I just can't stand the fact that that's what they think that was. I'm going to say it because I can't say it in the state of Florida. So I'm going to say it here. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Diversity, equity, inclusion. I'm going to say it over and over. I'm just going to
oh my gosh,
shout it out every time that I'm here.
They're going to shut our show
I can't
down
say
now.
It in Florida.
We're going to show up in their searches and we're going to be shut down.
I actually think the clouds just parted above my office here.
We learn in Teacher 101 that students require different things in order to be successful, right? And it's our job to figure out what that is and to meet their needs. And the fact that even just the term equity has been so politicized, when equity is literally access to opportunities. I can't understand any adult, let alone someone who's running for office, being opposed to teachers ensuring that students are getting access to what it is they need to thrive and succeed in our classrooms. And again, it's just a baffling climate that we're in, and the polarization. It's not good for our profession. It's not good for teachers, but most importantly, it's not good for kids. And anyone who claims that these attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion are good for kids, well, clearly they need to go back to school and get an education degree.
Let's go to you, Dorina, for our next data point question.
Oh, goodness.
And the next statistic is 37%. According to a recent survey, 37% represents A, the percent of school board members who confided in an anonymous survey that they've actually fallen asleep at least one board meeting. B, the percentage of high school students who say social media is very influential in shaping their political beliefs. Or C, the percent of K-12 teachers who say they have changed a student's grade after being pressured by parents.
Wow. Okay. The first one again, which one is that?
That's the school board members who have fallen asleep at a board meeting.
Oh, no, 37%. No, that's about 77 to 90%. So actually, I don't think so. It's definitely not A. So I'm going to practice process of elimination. So let's see. The second one, which one is that?
Second one is the percent of high school students who say social media is very influential in shaping their political beliefs. The third is percent of K-12 teachers who say they've changed a student's grade after being pressured by parents.
Because
I don't want you to overthink this one, Dorina.
I am 4 teachers, and I'm going to say not a lot of teachers do that. But there are some, because we know that we have some Karens in the room. So that's exactly what happens. So that is what happens. I would happen to say the answer is going to be C.
You sure 37% doesn't sound like a lot for teachers changing their grade?
I know, but then you know what? I'm just going to have to do the social media one, because in the name of teachers, I'm going to say that no, maybe -3 actually do that, because I need to be in support of teachers. So thanks for that. I'm going to say B. It's social media.
That is absolutely correct.
Hey, you got it.
Hey. 37% of U.S. high school students said social media like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube was very influential in shaping their political beliefs. And another 32% said it was somewhat influential. And this is according to a national survey published by the journal Education Next. So to all those we've been talking about, all those who are worried that somehow schools are trying to politically indoctrinate our kids, rest easy. Only 17% of students said teachers were very influential, and only 18% said books were. So when it comes to influencing student political beliefs, books and teachers combined have less influence than TikTok.
Knife to the heart.
I think I actually have the solution. Let's take all the teachers, put them on TikTok, and then maybe TikTok will create a new online school that parents can use their vouchers toward.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Is that really the influence that people are talking about? Yeah. I mean, I just want to say over and over, can I pet that dog? Can I pet that dog? And all others. What other TikToks things do you know, Lindsey, that stick in your head that you remember?
I don't know. I'm going to go take a left turn here and just say that as someone who recently got off of all social media except for LinkedIn, and I've been dabbling in Blue Sky, but for something that so long ago, what was it, 20 years ago? I don't know. All of the kids growing up today are digital natives who are growing up in a world in which all of these things have always existed, right? But I remember whenever Facebook first came on the scene, and it really did feel like a way to stay connected. For me, I'd moved from my hometown and I got to stay connected with friends, and what it has evolved into with this sharing and disseminating of misinformation, and rather than bringing us together, it's such a double-edged sword and seems to be dividing us. But to think that our students don't have the critical thinking and the necessary skill sets always to differentiate between what's real, what isn't, especially with AI on the scene. And I just question how anyone is navigating a world of truth and a world of facts. And to think that our kids, that their primary source of information for so many is TikTok and social media, well, it's really alarming and quite depressing. But I'm glad that you got the question right.
Thank you so much for that.
I think you make a really good point too, Lindsey. You know, it's whereas this thing that was supposed to bring us all together has sort of turned into this thing which is pushing us all apart, and that to me is sort of the greatest failure of social media. Just like you, when Facebook first came out, I suddenly was in contact with all of these people that I hadn't been in contact with for a while, and now I'd do anything not to be in contact with them anymore. You know, I just want to push them away. So. Two more quick stories from the news. The first one is for you, Dorina. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Los Angeles Unified Superintendent Albert Carvalho recently was quoted as saying, quote, "I'm still mystified as to how a first, second, third, fourth, or sixth grader would pose any type of risk to the national security of our nation," end quote. The superintendent said this after what happened at two elementary schools in his district. I'll give you a clue. It involves big, dark vehicles and an agency's name that rhymes with spice.
I am proud to say that I sat in the White House with Alberto Carvalho and his story when he worked as the principal and the superintendent of the year in Miami-Dade and then went over to the Unified School District in LA. The man is a badass, and there is absolutely no question he was completely appalled because ICE went into a public school setting and they turned around and said, what, they're going to take these kids? Are you kidding me? Are you freak? He, as an immigrant himself, made that statement and said, I came from Portugal as an immigrant with nothing, as an illegal immigrant, as an undocumented person. So I, for sure as you know what, know the answer to that question. And that question is ICE. Did I do it right?
You are correct. Agents of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, part of the Department of Homeland Security, arrived unannounced at two elementary schools in the district and asked to speak to several students who the agents alleged had entered the country without documentation. I did mention these were elementary school students. The principals at both schools denied access, at which point the federal officials left the school in those dark vehicles. Also interesting, the ICE agents claimed that the students' families had given permission for the contact, which turned out to be a lie.
They also claimed that they were there just for wellness checks on the kids.
Yes.
But that actually went against the policies of DEI because wellness falls under social emotional learning, which is illegal.
Say it. Say
it
it louder.
All right. Lindsey, this next question is for you. Earlier this year, scores for the National Assessment of Educational Progress, or NAEP, were released. The news for the latest rounds of tests was not good. Overall, scores showed that student achievement has not returned to what?
Pre-COVID numbers?
You got it. Absolutely. And that is not something we should try to mask over. That's
No.
right. Achievement has not returned to pre-pandemic levels. The NAEP is sometimes referred to as the nation's report card. It's administered to a sample of students in each state in a range of subjects. According to the latest results, reading scores are at historic lows and student achievement has not returned to pre-pandemic levels.
You know, I'm actually glad you asked me this because someone on LinkedIn recently, I was posting about the Department of Ed's defunding of different educational initiatives. And one of the, I'll call them uninformed individuals commented, well, when kids' reading scores are what they are, how do you expect us to keep investing in education? And you know, again, it's just one of those other, I mean, yes, it is our job to teach kids to read, right? But we have to take into account a lot of the things we've talked about on this episode, right? And another one of those things being we do have kids who are still catching up. And, you know, parents, families, and educators, we are equal stakeholders in every child's education. And what we need right now is not the vilifying of one or the other, but the coming together to surround students with the supports that they need so that we can get those numbers up and we can get them where they think they need to be. But vilifying educators, that ain't the way to do it. And also, the way to go about remedying all of this is not to defund our schools. It's not to defund SEL and mental health supports. We need those things more than ever so that we can support our kids as they're bouncing back, right?
Yeah. This story also, it got me thinking about some of the other things that haven't returned to pre-pandemic levels, because it's not just test scores. I mean, what about the number of people who believe vaccines are important to prevent diseases? I wish that was back to pre-pandemic levels.
Yeah, and what about the number of restaurants that offer buffets? I bet that was much higher pre-pandemic as well.
My weight. I mean, pre-pandemic, it was much better than it is.
Yeah, and something else that I know hasn't returned to pre-pandemic levels, the number of students who wore actual pants to school instead of pajama bottoms.
Well, don't ask me what I'm wearing below the waist right now, Paul.
That's for another day, Alex.
Well, hey, I will close with, there were two notable bright spots from the recent NAEP scores amidst the news, and that was that one state, Louisiana, actually surpassed its 2019 pre-pandemic fourth grade reading score, and another state, Alabama, surpassed its 2019 pre-pandemic fourth grade math score.
Was that one of them that were changing the grades because the parents were complaining? Just kidding.
I don't know, and I don't have a joke to add here either. I just thought, maybe we might not have a chance very often to use education bright spot, Louisiana and Alabama in the same sentence. So I didn't want to let that opportunity pass us by. I kid. Alabama, Louisiana, hey, well done. Well done.
Well done. Bravo.
Well done.
All right. Well, welcome back to Some of the Above, and thanks to Tommy Dunbar and the Number 2 Pencils for our music. And right now, we've got a real Teacher of the Year quiz show match going on. Our score is Illinois' own Lindsey Jensen, 3 points, and Florida's own Dorina Sackman, 3 points. All right. Well, this is a perfect time for our listeners to get to know our guests a bit better. Dorina, let's start with you. You've worked as an educator for more than 25 years in the classroom, as a coach, as a motivator. And I wanted to ask, what's one of the most commonly misunderstood things about teachers that you encounter?
Ooh. Now, I don't want to generalize, but I have been to 46 of the 50 states and 2 territories. So in my travels across the United States, one of the most misunderstood is that you can be a staunch advocate for your children, but sometimes the teacher politics actually overrides your staunch advocacy for kids. And what I'm seeing right now in public education, and I know I sound like a Debbie Downer and wah, 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 but what I am seeing is your political party is more important than the advocacy and equitable education of children. And that's a very misunderstood thing in the sense of people think teachers are one way. People think teachers, but yeah, there's an arrogance of ignorance, as Frary calls it. And that's a very misunderstood thing. I hope I answered that question all right.
You did. You answered the heck out of that question. I appreciate it.
Get it, girl.
And Lindsey, likewise, you're a celebrated classroom teacher. You taught high school English, and now you help support and guide new teachers as they launch their careers. So talk to us about, what does it take for a person to succeed as a teacher today?
Well, one of the things that keeps me up at night is, how do we protect these young people coming into our profession? They're hungry, they're ready to change the world, and their spirits often get crushed by the realities of ed policy, how that negatively impacts our classrooms, et cetera. One thing I say a lot to the young people I work with is that the government, all these politicians might be playing politics with our kids, but we are going to show up, we're going to show out, and it shouldn't be a political thing to create affirming spaces for kids and families. And I don't know how that became so politicized, and these claims that we're indoctrinating and we're my job and what I try to do is remind them on a daily basis. I have never once regretted my decision to become an educator. All of the good things that have happened in my life have happened as a result of my decision to become an educator and form relationships with kids and their families. And there is a plethora of negative rhetoric, inaccurate rhetoric circulating about our profession. And my job is to combat that and to hopefully be able to share the joys of our profession with them, but also to prepare them for some of the really harsh realities that we're all too familiar with. But I love my job. I love working with young people who are choosing education, and they need to know that there are so many joys about our profession, despite the negative rhetoric that's circulating.
Yeah, I think that is so powerful. Thank you both for sharing that. Some of the best teachers that I've ever met, or most effective teachers I've ever met, they sort of are able to separate what they call what we call the necessary nuisances from the work that we have to do. And so it's almost like you've got two cameras, right? There's camera one, which is the big picture and everything that's happening all around you in education, and then there's camera two, which is what is right in front of you. And a lot of times, what's right in front of you are those students. And so you switch to camera two and you just look through that lens for as long as you can.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
It's the greatest profession on the face of the planet. And interestingly enough, as Lindsey sees it, and I see it statistically, that no matter what, there are people who are going into the profession. It might have decreased a little bit percentage-wise, but they're still there. And as we all know, Alex, Paul, Lindsey, it's a calling. It chooses you. Even people who have decided to retire from other professions, and then they decide, you know what? I want to teach financial literacy in the state of Maine. And that's what they're going to go do and get their certification. And it's up to us, the veteran teachers, to really actually, don't tell anybody I'm an English teacher, to really support them so that everybody gets that seat at the table and then just inspires, motivates, empowers, and elevates. So great.
And our next game is called Which is More? So in this game, we'll tell you about two things, and you have to say whether there is more of one or the other. So for instance, if I were to say, are there more Beyonce fans in the world or more Taylor Swift fans, you would politely decline to answer because that's just not something you want to get in the middle of, right?
Not at all. I don't need their fan base giving me hate mail.
Katy Perry, the astronaut.
Don't worry, though, Lindsey. They're not on LinkedIn since that's your only platform there. But, okay, so the first which is more is for you, Lindsey. Okay. So are there currently more people working for the National Center for Educational Statistics, which is the agency within the U.S. Department of Education that collects and analyzes data about students in schools across the entire nation? Or are there more people working the midday shift at your neighborhood Starbucks?
I'm depressed to answer this question, but I'm familiar with all of the cuts and the gutting of agencies that has happened, particularly as it pertains to the Department of Ed. So I'm going to go with Starbucks. More Starbucks.
That is correct. There are more people making those caramel macchiatos at your local Starbucks because the National Education Statistics Agency has been reduced from roughly 100 employees to a skeletal staff of just 3. Mass layoffs of more than 1,300 employees at the Department of Education announced earlier in the year by U.S. Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, delivered what one insider called a crippling blow to the agency's ability to carry out the roles Congress has authorized it to do, including telling us how public schools and federal programs are doing through statistics and research.
Well, hey, the good news is that for those 3 employees that are left, there's now a much shorter line at their own Starbucks across the street.
Always a silver lining, Alex.
Always.
So, Dorina, let's go to your which is more question. Ready?
Yep.
All right. In the entire state of Oklahoma, Are there
Okay.
more public schools or more cannabis dispensaries?
Okay.
You got a 50-50 on this.
Oklahoma, Oklahoma. I am going to actually do the same thing that Lindsey did due to the fact that we do see issues in education and rural education, living in the middle of nowhere here. I do see a lot of closing of schools and then the actual consolidation of schools. So I am going to say that there are more dispensaries than there are public schools in Oklahoma.
That is well deduced. As of December 2024, the Oklahoman reported there were 1,796 pot dispensaries and there were 1,781 public schools. So more pot dispensaries than public schools. That number, by the way, the total number of public schools, that's according to the 3 people who are still left at the National Center for Educational Statistics. When asked, the state superintendent of public education said, there is no truth to the rumor that to increase efficiency, the state is now creating a series of community schools that will provide wraparound dispensary services for families.
Imagine how tasty the snacks are now going to be at your school cafeteria with the
I'm gonna
dispensary, right across the
now.
street.
That Friday pizza, man.
All right, Lindsey and Dorina, as you know, it's graduation season, and that means commencement ceremony speeches. To help students give the most heartfelt, inspiring speeches possible, we thought we'd seek some expert advice. So we asked AI, or A1, as the Secretary of Education likes to call it, to answer this question. What should someone say if they're giving a high school graduation speech this year? We also asked the same question of Joan Detz, professional speech coach and author of the book, How to Write and Give a Speech. So I'm going to give you both some graduation speech tips. And for each one, you have to guess whether they came from ChatGPT or whether it's advice from a professional speech coach. Got it?
Got it.
Okay. Dorina, this first one is for you. Graduation speech tip number 1. Mention shared experiences. For example, you could say, we grew up in a time of rapid change, learning to adapt when school went remote, when calculators turned into apps, and when teachers began asking us to explain how ChatGPT works. Is that a tip from ChatGPT or from the professional speech coach?
I believe that is from a professional speech coach. That seems a little more.
No, unfortunately, that is straight from ChatGPT.
Wow.
Okay,
it seems
Lindsey.
so personal.
Lindsey, this next one is for you. Graduation speech tip number 2. Express gratitude. For example, say, to the teachers who stayed late, the parents who stayed patient, and the friends who stayed real, thank you. Is that from ChatGPT or the professional speech coach?
Well, only because it's full of cliches. I'm going to say ChatGPT.
You are correct, ChatGPT. All right, and for tip number 3, we're going to open it up to both of you. Tip number 3, look ahead with purpose. For example, the truth is, none of us know exactly what's next. The world is unpredictable, but so are we. And maybe that's our greatest strength. Lindsey, Dorina, is that ChatGPT or our professional speech coach?
What do
On
you
the
think,
count of 3,
Dorina?
Lindsey. On the count of 3, we both say it. Ready? 1.
Yes.
Yeah, you do the count.
1, 2, 3.
ChatGPT.
You got it. All three of these speech advice morsels come directly from ChatGPT. In fact, we didn't actually even ask speech coach Joan Detz for advice. We just saw her book on Amazon. So Joan, you're welcome for the free publicity we just gave you among our millions of listeners.
Brilliant. Brilliantly done.
What a cliched, uninspiring speech. It's like whenever your kids come to you and they want to start every essay with a quote, right? Because they think that's unique.
Hey, be honest, both of you. You both do a lot of public speaking. Have you ever turned to Chat GPT to figure out what to say?
I have never used Chat GPT or AI. And it's funny you ask this because I was thinking about this morning. I'm a writer, right? And I cannot imagine giving up my agency and my decision making as a writer. Well, it's just a disservice to the craft, in my opinion, as an English teacher. So my answer is no. And I'm probably really showing my age by admitting that.
Well,
No,
I've got some redemption for you. You say you've never used AI, but have you ever used A1 steak sauce?
Indeed, I have. But not on my husband's steaks because they don't require steak sauce.
I bet you that lady can't even say Worcestershire sauce. I bet you she can't. Ask her to spell it.
That's
too.
a high bar. Come on.
Well,
All right, it's that time now for our final game. This is the rapid response round we call true, false, or what? Alex is going to ask each of you a series of 3 questions in a row. And for each one, you have to tell us whether it's a true story or whether we just made it up. Or you can simply shake your head and say, what? Which is always an acceptable answer. So in this final game, each question will be worth 1 point, but if you get all 3 correct, you'll receive a bonus point as well. So before we start, I'm going to remind our listeners of the score so far. So hold on just a minute. Due to the massive layoffs in our own statistics department, Alex and I are taking much longer to tally these scores. So just give me 1 second. But here's where we stand, actually. It is Lindsey with 5 points and Dorina with 4.
That's only because I want to come back.
I know, yes.
all right. Well, in that case, Dorina, we are going to start with you since you have the fewest points so far. Are you ready for your 3 questions?
I am ready.
All right. Rapid response. True, false, or what? Allen High School in Allen, Texas, has the largest high school marching band in the country with more than 800 students.
True.
You are correct. True, false, or what? Anthony Trevors, a school crossing guard in Lafayette, Indiana, was asked to resign in April after he was convicted of his 4th traffic violation for speeding through a school zone.
That's always a correct answer, Alex.
Give her the point, Paul. Give her the point. As for the question, it is false. We just made that one up. We absolutely love our crossing guards.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question for you, Dorina. True, false, or what? For this, and this one's especially good for you. For the 2nd year in a row, Florida removed more books from school libraries than any other state.
Unfortunately, it is true.
You are correct. According to PEN America, book removals are increasing across U.S. school libraries, and Florida remains in the lead with about 4,500 book removals. The state topped the nation for the 2nd year in a row.
Welcome
Dorina,
to the Sunshine State.
You must be so proud of your home state.
I'm from New York. Just every other New Yorker. We took over the state of Florida. I'm at the Florida-Georgia line, and I do all my business in South Georgia. Let's just make sure you understand that.
There's another New Yorker that went to Florida.
Okay. I'm in North Florida. I'm not at Mare Loco. Okay.
Okay,
All right, Paul. How many points did Dorina earn this final round?
Dorina crushed it. She got all 3 right, so she gets 3 plus the bonus point, and that gives her a total of 8.
the
8.
pressure.
Okay,
What?
so how many does Lindsey need to guess correctly?
So Lindsey will need to get all 3.
But if I lose, I get to come back.
Right.
So this is
It's-
bragging rights invited back. I feel like it's a win-win.
All right. Well, we're about to put it to the test. Number one, true, false, or what? All three of the triplet LaFontaine sisters at Willow Charter High School in New Orleans were named valedictorians for their 2025 graduating class after they all earned 4.3 GPAs.
I don't know if it's true, but we need a feel-good story, so I'm going to hope it's true.
Unfortunately, that is false. However, a special shout out to Carissa and Aisa Swope, real-life twin sisters at Stevenson High School in DeKalb County, Georgia, who were named the valedictorian and salutatorian for their 2025 graduating class. Okay.
Good for them.
Isn't that
Wonder
amazing?
Twin powers activate.
All right, next question. True, false, or what? Pennsylvania Congressman Glenn G.T. Thompson has reintroduced his Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act, which would allow schools to serve whole milk again, something they have not been allowed to do since a 2010 federal law prohibited it.
I'm going to go with true.
You are correct. Woo! Congressman Thompson from Pennsylvania's 15th district said, quote, "We have lost a generation of milk drinkers since whole milk was demonized and removed from schools," end quote. Meanwhile, his bill inspired a bipartisan group of animal welfare, environmental, and public health organizations to push for a vegan countermeasure that would include plant-based options. As one of those people who drinks those plant-based milks, I applaud that. All right,
doesn't do a body good.
Okay, last question. True, false, or what? Dolores Kimperton is in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the longest-serving public school social studies teacher in history. Miss Kimperton, who turned 86 in January, began teaching 63 years ago when John F. Kennedy was president and before a man had walked on the moon.
What?
Well, give her the point, Paul, because it is not true. Actually, the record holder is Paul Duritz, who got his first teaching job at Woodland Middle School in Gurnee, Illinois, your home state, in 1970. Ever since then, he's been teaching social studies at the same school. When asked what things had changed the most, he said, "When I started, we used a Ditto machine to make copies of lessons." Anybody remember the Ditto machine?
Chick, 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 chick. And it was purple and had wax and it smelled great. And I used to love going and trying to smell it all the time like permanent markers.
I think I actually had Mr. Duritz for social studies.
All right, Paul, what is our final score? Did Lindsey do it?
Well, she came so close, but I think it was that bonus point that made the difference. So Dorina has 8 points. And Lindsey came in with 7.
Woo-woo!
So that means, Lindsey, you have to come back for another show.
You know what? I'll take it. I'm in. I can't wait for more conversation.
I have a feeling Dorina's not turning down any future invitations either.
I will never turn down that. And man, you put me and Lindsey together again. This is going to be, Lindsey, you got to redeem yourself for the next time. But I got to tell you, it's that what is pleading the fifth on this show. Let me tell you.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to know how to play the what?
Well, hell, that feel-good story, I needed it to be true. But as expected in these times, it just wasn't.
Well,
I do. I like that you went out believing in a feel-good story. Respect for that.
I was going to say, if there's one thing that you can always count on Lindsey for, it's that she's got teachers back. So we certainly hope that all of you, our millions of listeners, will be back as well for the next episode of Some of the Above, the Education News Comedy Quiz. And a very special thanks again to today's guest, Lindsey Jensen, Illinois Teacher of the Year, Illinois Education Association Early Career Development and Student Director, singer, musician, and more. Lindsey, if people want more you, where can they find you?
Well, as I said, I'm not on social media, but I am on LinkedIn and I am dabbling in Blue Sky. But check me out, Illinois Teacher of the Year at gmail.com.
And Dorina Sackman-Ebuwa, Miss Dorito, 2014 Florida Teacher of the Year, motivational speaker, coach, and more. Dorina, where can we get more you?
DorinaSackman.com.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. A big thanks, too, to our in-house band, Tommy Dunbar and the No. 2 Pencils.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The Sum of the Above Education News Comedy Quiz Show is not sponsored by the Chan Zuckerberg Foundation. Also, we had to give back federal grant dollars that we had received because Dorina yelled out DEI 3 times during the recording of this episode.